Blessings to the tribe and peace to the family. This is your Apostle Blacksmith. I'm back with another video. Today we are doing part 2 of the voice of God versus the voice of your own heart, or put another way, how to tell the difference between the voice of your own heart and the voice of the Lord. Now, on the first video, in part 1 of this message, I told you that one of the important things about the first level voice of God, which is very subjective, is that you need to live a life that is surrendered to the will of God, to the purpose of God. And when I want you to understand something, that when I say a certain level of prophetic revelation or the voice of God is subjective, what I mean by that is that it can be influenced. So that is to say, it's not so reliable, especially if you are someone who is not living a life that is completely surrendered to the will of the Lord, right? So this is why actually I prefer visions over dreams, for example, because dreams, they are also so subjective, but of course there are different levels of dreaming, right? But dreams, naturally, everyday dreams, they're very subjective. So you can dream something and think that the Lord has spoken to you, only to find that that is just a memory in your subconscious mind. Or how many times do you dream things because you went through them during the course of the week? How many times you dream things because you desire them? For example, another good example, you desire something, then you have a dream. You have a dream about that thing. You see? So again, there are certain there are different levels of dreams as well. Some dreams are very subjective, or let's just say dreams can be subjective. But then there are certain prophetic dreams that comes and leave you without any doubt that this was communication from God. Right? But what I'm trying to emphasize, the point of, there are certain lower levels of prophetic revelations, they are subjective. But low levels of prophetic revelations, they are entry points into the prophetic. So that is to say, you can't then reject low levels of prophetic revelation because you want high levels of prophetic revelation. So you can't reject the door, but you want to come inside the house. So at the end of the day, you have to embrace low levels of prophetic revelation. And that is one of those is what we are talking about, is the first level voice of the first level of the voice of God, which is the voice of the Holy Spirit through the voice of your own heart, which is your consciousness. So the Lord will speak, the Lord will speak to your spirit, man, and you will hear the voice of the Lord through the voice of your own spirit. So in the beginning, and here's the thing, I told you that when you are beginning, it will sound a lot like maybe meeting two identical twin brothers. So in the beginning, when you look at them, you think they look exactly alike. They look exactly alike. So in fact, you might think you will have a hard time to tell the difference between the two. But then, just a bit more of time with these two twin brothers, you begin to see certain differences. So you can't anymore mistake one twin brother for the other, because you've been with them enough to actually see that, okay, they look alike, but there's certain features that I can actually tell that, oh, that is this one, this is that one. So the same thing with the voice of the Lord that is in your heart, or rather that comes through your spirit man. In the beginning, it might be difficult for you to tell whether this is my own heart, this is the Lord. But one of the ways I found in my initial stages as a baby Christian, that helped me to distinguish the voice of God and the voice of my own heart, is when you want nothing but the will of God, when you want nothing but to please God. So that is to say, you sacrifice your own desires, you sacrifice your own dreams, you sacrifice your own natural ambition, and you want to know what God has for you and what He wants to do through you. Then it becomes easy for you to recognize, because like I said, the Bible says, to the pure all things are pure. Are you getting it? So, but okay, I want us to talk about the second level of the voice of God through the book of 1 Samuel chapter 3. Verse 1, and the child Samuel ministered unto the Lord before Eli, and the word of the Lord was precious in those days. There was no open vision. And it came to pass at that time when Eli was laid down in his place, and his eyes began to wax dim that he could not see. Verse 3, an Arab before Arab before the lamp of God went out in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was, Samuel was laid down to sleep. Verse 4, that the Lord called Samuel, and he answered, here am I. So when the Bible says, and the Lord called Samuel, and that the Lord called Samuel, and he answered, here am I. Many a times people who read this, they think the voice of the Lord that came to Samuel, it was an external voice of God. But this was not the external voice of God, because not only Samuel was in this particular house and Eli, but there were other also people that were working at the temple that were close by. So question, how is it that Eli and the other people who were there, they didn't hear the voice of the Lord when he was calling for the boy? And the answer is simple. The voice was not external. The voice was still internal. And that's what I'm talking about today. So that the Lord called Samuel, and he answered, here am I. And he ran unto Eli and said, here am I, for thou callest me. And he said, I called not, lie down again. And he went and lay again. I want you to see this, that both the first level of the voice of God and this second level of the voice of God, they are internal. But their nature and their characteristics are not the same. Let's say, for example, if you are having a conversation with yourself, or your heart is speaking to you, you are not likely to think that someone outside is talking to you, right? Even if your spirit were to call your name, you are not likely, because you are very much conscious and aware that this is the voice of my own heart. You will not mistaken that for the voice of someone else. But then what that tells us is that the voice that Samuel heard, he could not mistaken it. There was no way he could mistaken it for the voice of his own heart, because the voice was so strong. It sounded almost as if it was external, but it wasn't external, right? And one of the things that me in my personal life, when I first heard this second level of the voice of God, it cuts through your thoughts. It cuts through the voice of your own heart, right? So when the Lord speaks to you, it's as if like a real person. It's as if like there's a physical person talking to you. You hear. It's as if you're hearing someone in the natural. But the only difference is that the voice is still on the inside of you. You are hearing it speaking in the inside of you. I hear that a lot when I prophesy to people. Right? The Lord speak to me. It cuts through your own thoughts. It cuts through the voice of your own heart. It's speaking you, and I'm telling you, you will even mistaken it for an external voice. So if the Lord comes and say, Bongani, you might get up, you might start looking around, or if you don't know, you might go outside, open the door, open your doors and go outside and check if someone's calling for you or something. Because it's so strong, way stronger than the voice of your own heart. This one is less, in fact, this one is not even subjective, because here's the thing about a level of revelation that is not subjective. You can't manufacture it. You can't conjure it up. You see, like, let me use dreams, for example. Dreams, they are subjective. Let's say you want the prophetic, you love the prophetic, you love a certain man of God, you follow that man of God. And because you love them so much, and because you follow them so much, and you admire them so much, you want to see them so much, under them so much, then you begin to have a dream of yourself meeting that man of God. Maybe you are kneeling. I'm sure that people watching me, you've had that experience. You are kneeling in front of the man of God. The man of God is laying hands upon you, or the man of God has prophesied you, or they were giving you their mantle. Then when you wake up in the morning, then you say, the Holy Spirit showed me, the Lord spoke to me, he showed me that prophet so-and-so is my spiritual father. So my impartation is going to come from prophet and so and so. But in actuality, your desires spoke to you, not the Lord. That's why some of you who have had this type of dreams, it has been years now, and there's still no way for you to be able to go and meet the man of God that you think the Lord showed you that man's supposed to mentor you. Because, God is not that evil. He would He would not show you and say, that prophet's supposed to be just, he's a spiritual father, is the one who's going to mentor and prepare you. But then God doesn't connect you. It doesn't open a way for you to get to that man. So there's so many people around the world who follow prophets that are already very big, and they love their ministry, they love their lifestyle, they love everything about them, and they would really love to be mentored by that person. But because the person is surrounded by literally thousands of people, there's no way for you to get there. Your heart doesn't know that when you're sleeping. Your desires, they don't know that when you're sleeping. Then you begin to conjure the dream. So your desires influence your dream life. So imagine running with a dream like that, thinking it's the Lord, and it was your desire speaking to you. So that's why it's very important to embrace low levels of prophetic revelation as an entry point. But then you must desire to grow to the second level of the voice of God. Or, you understand? You must desire to come to levels wherein the types of prophetic communications you are getting, they are less subjective. Right? And this is the second level of the voice of God that is not subjective. You can't make that up in your head. You can't make that voice. Is that, like, for example, I'm sitting here, I can speak inside of me and hear the voice of my own heart. But I can't manufacture the second level of the voice of God. It has to come to you. Right? It has to come to you. And those are types of prophetic revelation I love, because then there's no way of doubting them. Right? And like I said, even on dreams, there are certain level of dreams that you will not be able to doubt that dream came from God. So, but the issue of desires is very important then, because when you so badly desire something, even if God will speak something to the contrary, you are not in a position to perceive it, because you want that thing so bad. Are you getting it? So that is the second level voice, or second level of the voice of God, is that it still sounds like, or rather it still speaks inside of your heart, but then is distinct from the voice of your own heart. It's strong, it's not subjective, it cannot be made up. It's the Lord speaking to you. Right? In fact, Nabi prophets who prophesy are also through that voice of the Lord that comes to them as they are moving and prophesying. Okay, so so embrace the first level, but desire the second level. Remember, in the prophetic, the key is desire. Are you aware that we are not told anywhere in Scripture to pray for spirit, right? Father, I pray, give me the gift of prophecy. Father, I pray, open my eyes. No. The Bible says desire spiritual gifts. Right? So what is the first step? If you want to receive the gifts of the Spirit, is to desire. You must have an unquenchable and undying desire, a strong desire, a strong lust for the gifts of the Spirit. That's what the King James version puts it. Covet spiritual gifts, which means to desire, to lust after something. Are you getting it? So you have to desire for higher levels of prophetic revelation, right? And then, of course, the third level of the voice of God, it will be the external voice of God. And the external voice of God is very rare. It's very rare. I'm convinced in my walk with God, I'm convinced that not everyone is gonna be graced enough, or rather is gonna be graced to hear the external voice of God. So people who reject other levels of the voice of God, dreams and visions and impressions and the internal voice of the Lord, the internal voices of the Lord and stuff, only they might spend their entire lifetime rejecting the voice of God because they want God to speak to them externally. I mean, it's a classified way of communication. Hence, even God, he told Aaron and Miriam, he said, if there's a prophet among you, if there's a prophet between you, Aaron and Miriam, God was essentially saying to them, I was going to talk to you in dreams, and I was going to make myself to you known in a vision. And then he says, but it's not so with my servant Moses. With him I speak mouth to mouth. So God is like, okay, mostly when I rise a prophet, I speak to the prophets through dreams, and I reveal myself to them in visions. Right? And then, of course, there are other ways like hearing, perceiving and stuff. But then in this context particular, God is telling God is trying to tell Aaron and Miriam that, do you see the kind of honor that I bestowed upon Moses, that I would speak to him mouth to mouth? Is not that supposed to make you to fear this man? That's why he says, were you not afraid to speak against Moses? Like, if I don't talk to many prophets like I talk to Moses, and I wouldn't even talk to you like that. To you, I'll talk to you in a dream or a vision. And Moses, I talk to him mouth to mouth. Are you not supposed to be afraid of Moses? That's what God was saying to Aaron and Miriam on the meeting when they had spoken against Moses. You see? So, and the lesson is this, is that God is speaking to you. And whether he is going to speak to you through the external voice or not, it shouldn't be a matter of consequence. What is important is that the Lord speaks to you, and you must be sensitive, sharp, and quick enough to be able to recognize at whatever level the voice of God comes to you, you must be able to recognize that this is the Lord speaking to you. Right? And I tried saying something along these lines. I'm not going to continue reading this. I tried saying something along those lines the other day. I was saying communication with us human beings. Let's just talk about us as men. We're men, right? Not beasts. Let's talk about us as men. Communication for us as men is more than verbal communication. You can be with someone, right? And they could be saying something nice to you. They might be saying something nice, but the tone of their voice might tell you they're saying the tone of their voice might tell you a different message. So while a person is talking to you using verbal communication, the sound is telling you a different story. So there are two types of communications you are receiving: the verbal communication, but also the sound, which has a mentality, which you are able to interpret the mentality of that sound. Then you are able, from the tone of the voice of a person, to tell that, okay, what they are saying and what they mean, they're actually two different things. Two communications at one time. Or how about the facial expression? That someone might say something nice, but their facial expression might actually tell you something different. Body language and stuff. So, and I'm trying to say, communication is so broad. That's why if you are going to become a great communicator or a great listener or a great conversationalist, you have to, when you talk, when you are in a conversation, you have to not just pay attention to verbal communication. When you are listening to a person, you are listening to everything they are saying through their body, everything they are saying through their facial expression, everything they are saying through the tone of their voice, right? Everything they are saying through their eyes. So if as human beings, we understand at least that communication is not limited to verbal communication is not limited to verbal communication, to communicating verbally. Why then, when it comes to the Lord, a lot of you believers want to limit the Lord to the external voice? And mind you, he's not a human being, right? I mean, consider how when angels appear, an angel will appear to you, he will look at you and communicate with you telepathically. He appears, he stands there, you are looking at him, he looks at you, you hear his voice inside your mind. Or you conceive his thoughts, you pick up the thoughts in his mind. Because anyway, what is words? Words is actually trying to transfer your thoughts into another mind. But what if those same thoughts can be transferred to another mind without any verbal communication? Is it less of communication simply because it was not verbal? And I'm making this argument to say to you, you are taking for granted the communications of the Lord in your life simply because they don't come to you at the verbal language. I mean level, right? And if you continue with that attitude, you are not going to grow as a prophetic person. You are not. You see, my goal in the prophetic, I want to demystify this thing. I know that a lot of times when prophets minister, they're on the pulpit, they appear so superhuman, and some even in their talk, they just don't break things down and bring them to a level where the common man can identify with them. I could do that if I wanted to. But I'm not interested in it. I'm interested in taking things and break them down and make it so easy for the average believer to be able to access them in the prophetic and move in the prophetic and hear the voice of the Lord. And whether they also choose to become secretive about it and sophisticated about it or not, that's their business. But my job is to enable you to be able to recognize that God has been speaking to you. You can actually hear the voice of the Lord. Okay, so the external voice of God, which is the third highest level of the voice of God, is a privilege reserved for a select few. For a select few. Not every person is going to hear the external voice of the Lord. So I don't want to sell you a dream, though I'm not selling anything. I don't want to sell you a dream, right? Because people fall for Ponzi schemes because people buy the dream. So the con artist knows that a lot of people are naive, and a lot of people are looking for a shortcut into things. So the con artist comes and sells the dream. And then those who hate hard work, who hate the process, then they take their hard-earned money, they give it to the con artist with the hope that it's going to be easy for themselves to make more money, only to find that they are being conned at this point. And why are they being conned? It's because they hate the process, they want shortcuts, and then so the con artist will sell them the dream. So the same thing in the prophetic. Some prophets will sell you the dream that you will hear the external voice of God. So if you can attend my prophetic school, you will hear the external voice of God. If you can attend my prophetic school, you will see. I even taught yesterday that not all you prophets are going to be able to move in the seer realm. Some of you is not the purpose of God, and God has not called you as seers, but you are prophets. And you have different functions. So you get it. So the whole body cannot be eyes. The whole body cannot be ears. It's different members of the body that makes up the whole body. So each of us in the prophetic, even if God has called us into the office of a prophet, God will give us different types of functions. But now a prophet who just tells you that you're supposed to be seeing angels every day. Everyone supposed to be, it's a lie, guys. It's just a blunt lie. Not everyone will see angels in their lifetime. Not because, God would not show you his angels just to satisfy your curiosity. Angels appeared in scripture because they were on an assignment, not because they were trying to, responding to a prayer of an Old Testament saint who said, "Oh God, I want to see an angel." You get it? So let's keep it real. Let's keep it biblical. Let us keep it within the context of the Bible. Then we're not going to go wrong. But if you want to buy into myths, you want to buy into fantasy and move away from the truth, you can. But trust me, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line, you would realize what you have done. You would realize how much time you have wasted. You would realize how much you sacrifice the voice of God and sacrifice your own destiny for a dream. Okay, so that's why I insist that every prophetic teaching must be biblically founded. If it's not biblically founded, guys, we are not New Agers. We are not practicing some open spirituality. We are believers. We believe in Jesus Christ. So we believe in the Bible. We believe in God. We believe in God's word. So our teachings, our practices must be measured. So in other words, put another way, the Bible, it is the yardstick by which we measure every doctrine, every experience, and every activity. That's it. So if you can't really qualify it through this book, then it's not God. I don't care.